Good morning, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, are Retribution splitting up in WWE?
Jaxson Ryker returns to WWE television.
WWE's plans for Charlotte Flair's return may have been revealed.
And the real reason Alexa Bliss was missing from Monday Night Raw. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
Well, let's kick things off by talking about Retribution. We spoke about this lot last week when Reckoning's mask fell off in the ring and then she got bollocked by Mustafa Ali, and it was all very strange and very weird and hinted perhaps that the stable was maybe on the way out. Well, these teases, these suggestions continued again on last night's episode of Raw. This was an interesting series of developments, really. It was a tag team match, Slapjack and Reckoning versus Dana Brooke and Ricochet. Mustafa Ali promised before the match, we're gonna win and you guys are gonna die. He didn't say you're gonna die, but you know, pretty much. We then had the match, it ran less than 2 minutes, and again, the Retribution team just lost. 2 minutes, done. Reckoning pinned once more. It looked like she was kind of distracted by Ali, who was trying to bark instructions, trying to keep his group on the straight and narrow, and it didn't work. This led to another in-ring admonishment from Ali. He was all, you guys let me down. He literally said to Slapjack, this is how you repay me. More dissent in the ranks. There was no sign of Mace, Gooch, Flapjack, or Queef. They were not in the building. Sadly, it was just the two of them last night. But it looks very much like Retribution is starting to slip away on WWE programming. This stable, from start to finish, hasn't gone all that well. They promised to bring chaos. They promised to bring the promotion to its knees. They have systematically failed to do that every single week. They lose all the time. They're very ineffective. They're never anything more than like a really slight nuisance. WWE have not done a good job of presenting them so far, at least not in accomplishing the goal of sowing chaos or whatever they were supposed to be doing the first time around. I won't be sad to see the back of them, Adam Wilborn, but do you think this is really the end?
Of Retribution! Yeah, my vocal cords will be glad to see him go as well. Hopefully. Honestly, last night's Raw was just so crap, and this is a sort of microcosm of the whole thing. I know that we admonish Raw all the time, and WWE just generally for their lack of long-term storytelling. You can't sit there and tell me, we had this big story arc for Retribution that started with them chucking a Molotov cocktail at a speaker or whatever it was, and ended with this bollocks. Like, it's almost as if Andy WWE's being booked by a senile old man who's slowly losing what's left of his marbles. It's just awful. And like the talent that is surrounding this whole thing, not just Mustafa Ali and, the likes of Dominik Dijakovic, who did some great stuff, in my opinion, in NXT, but the fact that people like Ricochet are now being sucked into this. This doesn't make Ricochet look like this fantastic performer and savior of WWE. It just associates him with this crap. And I can't remember if it was one of the Dudley boys or I saw someone on Twitter over the weekend talking about how Pat McAfee has done more brilliant high spots this year than Ricochet, which is just an indictment of WWE's system. Retribution are, a tiny element of a good idea, this invading force to try and attract people back to the product. But every single decision they make is the wrong one with this stable.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there is the shred of a good idea in there, but they're too far gone. They've been too far gone for a long time. I think that the best option with this stable is to get the little Men in Black flashy thing out, wipe them from existence, and pretend they never happened after setting them ablaze in a dumpster fire.
But good news, as we move on to our second story, good news in opposite land. Jaxson Ryker is coming back to WWE TV. Already has actually appeared on an episode last night of WWE Main Event, having seemingly aligned himself with Elias. He basically just flanked Elias for a little performance before they got interrupted by R-Truth. It kind of came to nothing. The general consensus appears to be, according to Fightful Select at least, this was some sort of dry run for the two characters being shoved together. Now, there was a previous report suggesting that Jaxson Ryker's name would be right at the top of the list of the next round of cuts or releases, whatever you want to call them, that WWE are going to have. but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, although it does appear to be the case that the Forgotten Sons are no longer, because the other 2 members of Forgotten Sons, who are so forgotten I can't even remember their names, they popped up helping out Baron Corbin on SmackDown on Friday night. So I suppose for those 2 at least, it's far better to be associated with Baron Corbin than it is with Jaxson Ryker. But Jaxson Ryker is just now long-haired dude who stands behind Elias, Andy. Yeah,
Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake were the 2 unfortunate souls. They got caught up in all this crap and they didn't do anything wrong.
No.
They didn't do a damn thing. It really sucked for them, but when that association exists, it's kind of a difficult situation to split them apart, separate them, and perhaps that gimmick in the first place wasn't the best choice to present on national television in 2020. Jaxson Ryker made a very stupid, dumb, and boneheaded move back in May, attempting to use a period of great racial tension at the height of the George Floyd protest to further a pro wrestling character was always going to spoil the mood in the locker room. The optics of it were absolutely horrendous. WWE, I think, did the right thing, at least by taking him off television and getting that nonsense as far away as possible. Looks like they're cycling him back in now. Hope he doesn't do anything as stupid as that again if the company's going to keep hold of him. I mean, that's kind of the situation in a nutshell, right? Jaxson Ryker, really, really stupid move. Pissed off everyone backstage going by the reports. It is what it is. Here we are. What does he bring to the table that we need to bring him back for? I mean, he's got a beard. Anyway, let's move over to
Think
Charlotte.
before you tweet, guys. That's all you really need to do. It's not difficult.
Exactly. Apply a little bit of common sense before doing these things. Let's move over to Charlotte Flair, a more positive WWE return. We've got a report here from WrestleVotes suggesting that when Charlotte Flair returns to TV, WWE may opt to do that by positioning her alongside Andrade, her real-life fiance. They've been together in real life since early 2019, but they've never been an on-screen double act. The goal there would be to try and elevate Andrade closer to a main event level. Andrade's been off TV since October. Charlotte's been away since June. Royal Rumble season was reported as a potential comeback kind of window for her. So it might be a while before we see her after her surgery and her television commitments and other bits and pieces she's been doing. But I think that pairing would make a lot of sense. I mean, they're obviously going to have great chemistry, right? They're going to be married. And also Andrade, he benefited greatly from having like a really good mouthpiece alongside him and Zelina Vega. Well, Charlotte can cut a great promo as well. I also think they would just look like a superstar act together as well. This makes all the sense in the world to me. I would love to see this play out, and I hope WWE stick with it.
Yeah, mixed emotions about this one for me, because on the one hand, I think it can't get much worse for Andrade. He's stable with Zelina Vega and Angel Garza, despite how much talent was in there, was just so mismanaged by WWE and just pissed up the wall. And, I miss him. I think he's so talented in between the ropes, like you say, Andy, and he just needs a mouthpiece to kind of get there. And, it was right there that you could have a really entertaining feud immediately off the back of Drew McIntyre winning the World Championship, between him and Andrade both being former NXT World Champions, and they just sort of, just ruined it basically. So it's exciting if you can get Andrade back, give him a mouthpiece as good as Charlotte Flair. Excited to see Charlotte Flair back. It's been a sufficient amount of time now that I do want to see her back in WWE. And, see Andrade back, like you say, elevated into a world title picture. My only caveat with all this is WWE just don't seem to know how to handle relationships that are also off-screen as well as on-screen. Maybe they don't know how to handle on-screen relationships either. They don't understand how relationships work, seemingly. But my mind automatically flashes back to Becky Lynch slapping Seth Rollins' ass, and that being the entirety of their association on screen. And I worry for that, but I hope, fingers crossed, that with everything they went through with Seth and Becky, they will have learned from their mistakes. It's WWE. What am I thinking? Let's move on, though, and conclude by talking about Alexa Bliss. She was nowhere to be seen on last night's Monday Night Raw, despite the fact there was Randy Orton not actually physically attending, but being a part of the Firefly Funhouse and then wrestling Bray Wyatt, who then spookily transformed into the Fiend at the end of last night's show. But according to Devon Dudley, a WWE producer now, of course, he revealed in a cameo video the reason why Alexa Bliss wasn't there is she's currently off in LA, California, working on a Punky Brewster reboot. Charlotte Flair also involved in the project, which also features former WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr. It's obviously one of the most popular sitcoms from the 1980s. This was random news. That's all I can say to wake up to. But that is the reason why Alexa Bliss wasn't on Monday Night Raw, Andy.
Yeah, I've no idea who Punky Brewster is, but I hope they are a relation of the great Craig Brewster.
All right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course. If you want to get in touch with us, first question today comes from The Incredible on Twitter, who says, what do you think would happen if Brock decides to come back? Could you see him and Roman forming a super team?
Oh God, nobody would ever win again.
No, that's it.
I think that'd be quite cool. I'd kind of like to see those two absolute monsters just destroy. I think the kind of scorched earth factor of that would actually be a lot of fun, particularly online. I think if Brock comes back, I think they'll do a feud. I think they'll do Brock without Heyman as a monster babyface against Roman Reigns, and I think that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, nice change up of Brock's character. I'd like to see that. Although I also would like to see the Street Profits going, we really don't want the smoke. If you two are going for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, we're absolutely fine. When do you reckon Brock will come back? When fans come back? Maybe post WrestleMania 37? You reckon, Andy?
I don't think we'll see him until the global bastards off. He seems to me like the kind of guy who just cannot be bothered with the stress of traveling during all of this. Brock's going to do Brock. He's going to stay up in his little lodge doing some hunting and stuff. I think we need to wait until this whole thing has pissed off.
SummerSlam next year, I'd say, a wild guess. Second question today comes from Kenny Omega's Broom, at Broom Kenny on Twitter, who says, what do you guys think it will take to have non-WWE wrestling shows go mainstream? Can the AEW Impact Wrestling Alliance potentially open the doors for that conversation down the line?
So the answer to this is the same answer that it always has been for what will it take for like another wrestling boom. It's a star. It is a huge a star with cross-cultural appeal who can break into mainstream products and mainstream other avenues, movies, TV. People who are going to attract a lot of eyeballs to the product. A Rock, Steve Austin, to a lesser extent a John Cena, a Hulk Hogan. It's going to take the emergence of that kind of figure, I think, before we ever see any kind of pro wrestling boom ever again, whether it's in Impact or AEW or WWE. I can see the Impact relationship being fruitful for both companies, for Impact in particular. I don't think it will take either of them up to a true mainstream level. I think it will take the emergence of a generational star for that to happen.
And they have one. They have one. One word, 3 letters, MJF. He is the guy, if he becomes world champion for AEW, and it's at a time when we have fans and we have, the ability to just be normal. God, I can't wait for that to come back, Andy. I genuinely think, and I know I'm biased because he's my best friend, but I genuinely think he could be someone who just really captures the cultural zeitgeist. Is that even the right word? Am I using it correctly? I don't know, but I got it on the word of the day toilet paper, so I'm using it. MJF is the one, I reckon, who could really open up doors for someone like AEW, for example. And final question today comes from Scott Williams, who says, with the Rumble coming up, whose return out of the blue, whose name is not CM Punk, oh, damn you, Scott, would get a reaction like Edge did at the beginning of 2020?
Eva Marie, obviously. It's in the works, it's in the books. It's a tough situation because we don't really have somebody in Edge's position, some beloved star who was kind of cut down towards the end of their physical prime and they've been missing through injury, and it's such a tragedy that they just can't wrestle anymore. So I'm not sure there is another Edge pop left in the tank. Kind of running low on inspiration for this one. What have you got?
Well, is it cheating to say Edge again? That would do it, to have him return at the Rumble.
Dwayne?
Aside from that, I suppose I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Because it's Wade Barrett! It's Wade bloody Barrett! Getting back with a Rumble! Come on! The Rock. But that's not going to happen, let's be perfectly honest. But it'd be intriguing to see who they choose to get that huge pop next. Scotty Too Hotty. Me and Phil's tits would be in another county if that happened. So, yeah, Scotty Too Hotty. That's my answer for that one. And someone who may be suggested as a late Royal Rumble entrant, but really shouldn't, features on today's And Finally, that being Becky Lynch. Congratulations to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, who just over the weekend announced the arrival of their new baby, Rue. Fantastic news, this, Andy. This is just something nice that we need in 2020.
Yeah, congratulations to Becky and Seth on the birth of their child, Bechamel Sauce. No, it's a nice warming story on a Tuesday morning in this hellscape of a year, isn't it? So I hope everything went well with the birth and so forth. Hope that they're very happy. They seem to be so.
And from my knowledge of all this, from the Dadleys, R.I.P. sleep. Right, thanks to you for getting in touch with all your Twitter questions. You can still do so on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, watch, they can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for happy birthday to Adam Wilborn's favourite commentator of all time, Michael Cole.
Vintage! Dickhead. Happy birthday, Michael Cole. Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Let us know your thoughts on everything we discussed in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Daily wrestling podcasts. We're going to be reviewing Monday Night Raw today, but stick with us because we're also going to be reviewing The Rock chatting with Lillian Garcia and it being incredibly inappropriate from back in the day. So this could be me getting cancelled, I'll be perfectly honest, Andy. But my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.